Hi everyone, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about negativity and about negative people. I mean, we've all come across some kind of negativity, how we can deal with it and what we can do about it. Well, the solution is never ever see these people ever again. No, don't give them the headspace. And that's the solution. And this is the shortest video ever. Hi, welcome back everyone, welcome back. Alifa Begum here from Alifa Begum Official. To be honest, cutting out negative people or negativity is never this easy. If it was this simple and this easy, well, life wouldn't be so difficult. Anyway, see, negativity doesn't only exist in social media platforms or the mainstream medias or amongst TVs and radios and what have you. Believe it or not, you might even experience or you might have negativity with you as we speak now. So it could even be your neighbors, it could be your cynical and your negative relatives, it could be your family, it could be your best friends, or it could even be your circle of friends. You might even be living with a negative monster. In fact, this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but you might be super negative, but you just don't know it. So going back to the question, what is wrong with negativity? The problem with negativity is we're constantly focusing on the problem. And what tends to happen is when someone even offers us a solution, we tend to make the solution the problem. Now, not only is the problem, but also the solution is now the problem. Okay, so what tends to happen is when things like this happens is rather than helping the cause, you just add more salt to the wound. Now, what do I mean adding salt to the wound? Well, what I mean by that is initially if you had cut your finger or burnt your finger, the first initial reaction is to run and run your finger under a cold water tap, right? Or sort of somehow stop the bleeding. However, if you start now, instead of doing these things, if you start now hailing and wailing and screaming and cursing the knife and swearing at the stove, why did you burn me and blah, 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 and, cursing your fat fingers, why do you have such fat fingers for? Now, is this helping the cause? Is this helping the cut that's there or the burn? It's not. In fact, all you're doing is thinking more and more about the wound and the pain rather than dealing with it and getting some sort of pain relief. Not only are you experiencing so much pain and difficulty, you keep reminding yourself of the pain and you're also reinforcing it. You see, some people, what they also tend to do is whilst they're hurt in that state, they somehow manage to snap and they're managing to locating their Snapchats and up on their social media feeds. But, yet again, they're not dealing with the problem. This is just reinforcing the pain that you are experiencing. Okay, in a real life situation, if you were hurt, you would naturally deal with the pain. Okay, there and then. So now, when we're talking about negative people, what do? We can't just press the delete button and escape button and get away from it all and, delete these people in our lives. Unfortunately, we can't. The sheer reality is if it's someone we love dearly and someone we live with, it's going to be even more harder as opposed to if it's someone who's a distant relative that you see possibly once a year and the occasional calls, but they're very negative and they're such a downer that every time you speak to them, you feel extremely drained. Now, so what's the solution and what can we do about it? Well, number one, what you need to start doing is with negative people is acknowledge it. As soon as you've acknowledged it that they're not good for me and they make me feel down, once you've identified who it is, it might even be you. Okay, it might even be you. You have to see your habits. What are you doing? Are you constantly reading your feeds and watching your Instagram feeds and your Facebook feeds, and that makes you feel really dull and lethargic and really, really drained? Because sometimes it does. And in that instant, what you really need to do is mute all notifications. Okay, stay away from your social media feeds as much as you can, because look, then they are not your family and friends that are in your face. They are just, even if they are your family and friends, they are on social media. So you can politely tell whoever it is, I'm not going to be on social media for some time. Move on. If it's either step one, whether it's on social media or face-to-face, acknowledge who drains you. Okay, once you have acknowledged, number two, you need to keep your distance. Now, as you might have already identified, it may be someone that you live with. It may be your negative neighbor. It may be your cynical teacher that you see every day. Now, you can't do anything about that, right? You can't control the situation. You have to see them. You have to converse with them. Can do is, what is in your control is how you deal with them, how you choose to interact with them. Firstly, do not give them any kind of reason to argue with you or debate with you, because what that does is that feeds their ego, and then you also fall into the trap too. So whether they're cursing the weather, the government, the tax, their job, their pay, whatever it may be, don't get drowned in why life's so crap, etc. What then you start doing is you start sinking. So you're both sort of, she's drowning or he's drowning, and they just want you to accompany them on their journey. That's all. Because how much can one moan to themselves? They just need a little bit of audience. They need a bit of company in order to moan and groan, and they just want someone to entertain it. So do not entertain it whatsoever. Right, moving on. Number three. Once you've identified, once you're trying to keep your distance and you're also trying to sort of not entertain it, number four, you have to try and sort of agree to disagree in your mind. So what I tend to do is anything that I'm not happy about or anything that I don't agree with, it's not open to discussion, because it's not my place. That's their opinion, and that's fine. So whether they're complaining about the weather, if it's raining, they're complaining. If it's sunny, they're complaining about everything because they just want to. So therefore, I'm not going to say it's a beautiful day, but it is. I am not going to get in one, because that's their opinion, and I'm not going to give their voice in my headspace. So therefore, you leave it at that. You agree to disagree, not because you're being passive, but because you deserve this headspace and you deserve that peace of mind. Number five. Am I on number five? Yes, number five. Number five. Once you've gone through all these steps, what you need to do is you need to start, and I know I speak about this a lot, but you need to start practicing gratitude. And what does that do? I know you might say, but my life really is hard. Even though I'm not trying to be negative, even though I'm trying to stay away from my negative neighbors and my negative friends, etc. This is one of the core things of my philosophy. If one has gratitude, one can get over anything. You see, you might be complaining about your pay being so low or your job doesn't give you satisfaction. But there are others literally wishing and praying and dreaming for the things that you currently have. And I know it's a really, really long haul to imagine that and think that, because you've been in a rut, you see, and you've been in a habit of constantly thinking about the worst as opposed to the best. Anyway, so what you need to start doing is every day before you go to sleep, 3 things. Ideally, I was going to say 10, but then if you're only just starting off, possibly start with 3 that you are grateful for. So 3 things at night, literally write it down, because once you start writing it down, your brain also acknowledges it. There's something powerful between writing and your brain, so it just gets stronger. So therefore, I would advise you to write it. So 3 things that you are grateful for. It doesn't take 2 minutes. You have a lot of things to be grateful for. Okay. And then what I also want you to do is then first thing in the morning, please, please, please lay off your phones, okay? Do not start looking at your feeds first thing in the morning. It's really, really bad for you, especially if it's something regards to wars and people killing and dying. First thing in the morning, it's really not healthy. Same thing, write 3 different things that you are grateful for. Again, ideally I'd say 10, but you can slowly start moving up to 10. But 3 things that you are truly grateful for. Once you started being grateful for the blessings, and you want to start having a shift in your mindset. So what do I mean by that? You turn on the radio and you hear about the wars and people dying, and there's been a crash here, a crash there, fighting and knife attacks and what have you. And then you do the same thing before you go to sleep. What do you think your mind is thinking about? Do you think that's really favoring your mind? And all you hear about kidnapping in the world, or the bad things that have happened in the world, and how there's so much hate in the world. You know, the list can go on. It's a never-ending list. But if you chose to now change it over, if you now change it around and think about it, there are beautiful, miraculous things happening every single day, but they just never get the acknowledgement that they deserve. You see, we have somehow become blunt and desensitized to these good things, and we always give attention to these negative things. It's because of the attention that we give. That's why our energy flows to this direction. However, if we change it over and start reading and watching these positive and these beautiful and inspiring things, I guarantee you, your mindset will start changing and you will start seeing the good in everything. And this is what I mean. When you start watching negative things and constantly entertaining it, you start becoming very negative and cynical. However, once you start giving your time and you start entertaining positive things, you start seeing the good and positive in everything. So, moving on, and to the last step, once you start watching and reading inspiring and motivational things, what you then want to start doing is, any situation you're in, not only are you grateful, but what you do is you change it around. Now, what do I mean by that? So it's raining. So essentially what I'm telling you to do is make an excuse for it. Basically give it the benefit of the doubt. So what do you do? Now let's change it over. So your teacher's giving you assignments after assignments. What do? You know, tell yourself it could be worse. You know, there are people have to actually swim and go by boat and then climb a mountain before they go to school. Honestly, this is no joke. I think there was a video on YouTube and it's crazy. But really thank your lucky stars that you're not having to do that. In order to go to school, you're not having to climb a mountain, nor are you having to swim to get to school. If your employees suck, think to yourself, yes, I have a team of employees. Possibly try having the positive praise. Maybe they fell into the negativity trap as well. So try to help them and be positive towards them. Really be thankful for it, because there are many people that currently are still jobless. What you want to do is 90% of the time you actually want to be seeing the good in the world as opposed to what's bad in the world. And this is what you want to also do in real life, and that's sometimes we can't get away from it. Other times they may even be living with us, but what we can do is we have the power not to give them any headspace and not to feed into that energy. Those of you that eat fish know that fish isn't necessarily bitter or salty, right? Now that's how you need to think of it. Okay, although they are swimming and amongst and in the, whether it be dirty, salty, bitter water, but the fish is intact. It's not bitter, nor is it salty, and nor is it dirty, because it did not absorb the salt. The same way your mind should be free of these muddy, salty, bitter thoughts. Instead, fill your mind with beautiful, motivational, inspiring, magnificent things that are happening every single day. Remember, where your attention goes is where your energy flows, and this is what you need to look for. Thank you so much for tuning in. Alifa Begum here from Alifa Begum Official. If you found this helpful, please help me out by sharing and subscribing to this. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.